Hello crafty friends, welcome back to my channel. Today is what should have been one of my 12 days of Christmas videos. I've been saying that a lot recently, I apologize. This is the last one that is actually kind of Christmassy. So I do have two more to share after this, but they won't be quite so Christmassy. And this card would make a perfect all year round card if you just omitted the Christmas hat and the word Christmas. So I'm starting off with some ink blending, and I'm actually blending from the center out and creating kind of an ocean background. I have sped this bit up quite a lot. I'm using Distress Oxides, and I'll have the colors listed in the description below. I'm just going ahead and using my mini ink blender to blend some color in place and then just go over where those colors meet just to make sure it's really nice and seamless. I'm working on just a laminated piece of white cardstock so it's easy to clean. And then I'll go ahead and spritz some water. This is just clean tap water from my Distress sprayer bottle, and I'm just adding some large and some small droplets of water just to add to that kind of oceany feel to the background, and then I'll set that to one side to dry. So I've picked out the stamps that I want to use, and these are from the Heffy Doodle Oceans of Love stamp set. I love this stamp set, and I've had it for quite a while and I've just not got around to using it in a video, so I wanted to be able to bring it to you. So I picked out some of the creatures. We've got a narwhal, a turtle, a manta ray, I believe, not a stingray, I think that's a manta ray, and a little friendly shark. And then I pulled a Santa hat from another stamp set that I had in my stash because I wanted to make these little characters Christmas themed. As I say, this video should have gone up before Christmas, but as I've mentioned in a couple of my videos, I had a few problems with my health and I was really busy and we just didn't quite get there, but I had it filmed and I had it edited. I just needed to complete this voiceover, so I wanted to bring it to you. So I'm using my Spectrum Noir alcohol pens just to go ahead and add some colour. I went with some blue for the shark. Yes, I haven't finished his tail, and you'll see why that will become apparent as we complete the card. We've got a little grey narwhal and then a green turtle. I think the turtle looks so sweet. I actually got to swim with some sea turtles when I was in Mexico this year, and it was an incredible experience. If you've seen some of my other videos where I've talked about sea creatures, you know I love getting into the ocean, going scuba diving, and seeing what I can find. So I coloured up those Santa hats just in red. Seems a little bit odd to be talking about Santa hats in January, but here we are. And then I'm going to use some of my Heffy tape to hold my dies in place. This tape is great for masking, but it's also wonderful to run through your die cut machine. There is a lot of pressure applied when you run your dies through your machine, and often a masking tape or a washi tape might actually stick to the surface, especially if you've really saturated it with colour with your alcohol markers. And then when you come to peel it away, it can rip and tear your image. But this has got just the right amount of stick to hold everything in place, and you can reuse it a couple times, but it doesn't tear anything, which is wonderful. So I ran all of those through my die cut machine and popped out the pieces. You could definitely go ahead and fussy cut these if you didn't have the dies or if you're not a fan of die cutting your stamped images, but I think it's nice to be able to have the dies as an option just to save a little bit of time, especially when you're making multiple cards. So I'm going to set those to one side and bring back this piece. It has dried now, and I think it looks awesome with that kind of dark colour in the centre and then kind of blending out, and those little splatters just to help that kind of ocean feel. So I'm going to use my die cut machine again to create these little windows. If you don't have this die or a die cut machine, you could definitely go ahead and use just a craft knife and create some spaces for your characters to pop through. I love this die. This is the stitched triple peekaboo frame, I believe, from MFT. Again, I'll be sure to have everything linked in the description below. And I just think it's a really nice shape for those peekaboo windows. They're not kind of too uniform, although you certainly could just repeatedly cut with a small rectangle or square die, or even a circle, whatever it is that you have on hand. Okay, so I'm going to kind of play around with the position of the characters and figure out where I want them, and then I'll add a small amount of adhesive onto their kind of bodies that are going to be hidden behind the window. And then I'll just go ahead and hold them up at the back and figure out exactly where I want them. With the shark in particular, I knew I kind of wanted his nose on display and I wanted his fin on display. So I kind of took my time kind of wriggling that around to figure out where I wanted it. And then for the narwhal, I didn't want to hide any of his tusk. I'm going to go with tusk. So I kind of let that overlap just slightly on the front of the card. And then I'll trim off the excess. And I'm going to use those negative spaces from the dies. Oh, first I'm going to add some Santa hats. This really amused me. So, as I mentioned, this would make a wonderful kind of birthday card, a celebration card, whatever occasion it is that you have. And you could just omit the Santa hats. But I think adding the Santa hats to the sea creatures just gives it that really fun, whimsical look. And it worked perfectly as a Christmas card. So here I have the negative space. Now, hindsight is a wonderful thing, and had I have thought about this properly, before I'd gone ahead and added any of my little critters poking through the windows, I would have applied the negative space to my card base because it's so much easier to line it up perfectly when you don't have anything in that window. However, I didn't think about that ahead of time, so I'm just having to kind of paper piece it as I go. You can see this center one. The center one was really easy because there was nothing in the way, so I just popped that in. But then I'll just work behind that shark and poke this piece in. And that just helps complete the kind of ocean scene in the background. So you've not got that stark white behind each of the creatures. So you can see I also must have slightly miscut either my card panel or my card base. Something went slightly wrong. I have a white edge poking out along the side, but that's fine. I'll go ahead and trim that off when we're finished. So here I've set up my sentiments in my MISTI, and I pulled in a For and Christmas from another stamp set so I could complete my sentiment to say, sending you oceans of love for Christmas. Once I was happy with how I have had everything lined up, you can see those little stamps try to kind of stick to your fingers a little bit, but it's great to be able to use the MISTI just to get everything perfectly in place and know that you're going to get kind of foolproof stamping every time. And then I grabbed a black ink. This is actually my favourite black ink for sentiments, and it is the VersaFine Onyx Black. I think it's a kind of staple for the majority of card makers. I think we all have one of these kind of kicking around somewhere, and if you're anything like me, it is right at hand, so you can use it on pretty much every card. So I used my 3M foam tape to mount up this entire front panel. Went ahead and peeled off the backing. I made sure to include some foam tape behind each of those sea creatures so there would be some dimension and they would kind of pop up off the card. And then just lined that up with the windows and pressed it down. I realised I'd been a little bit too eager with my foam tape and some was poking out behind the shark's Santa hat, so I just trimmed away the excess before I kind of firmly pressed that down and adhered it in place. So now I need to put in my final sea critter for the front of the card, and I went with this little manta ray. I think he just looks so sweet, and then there isn't really a place for him to wear a hat. I don't think they usually wear hats, and they don't appear to be designed for Christmas hats, so I had to kind of just perch it along his back, but I think it looks really cute and it adds to the whimsical feel of this card. So you may remember from the start of the video, we also coloured up a sea turtle. I wasn't going to let him go to waste. I stuck him on the inside of the card and placed the hat along his shell. The final thing that I wanted to add to this card was some Nuvo drops, and I just kind of tested it on a scrap piece of paper first. It's a habit that I've got into when I use Nuvo drops, just in case there's an air bubble in there and everything kind of splodges out or kind of burps out onto your card and leaves a big old mess. I just start off on a scrap piece of paper and then I added some of the Nuvo drops to the trim and the bobble of the Santa hats. Okay, so that is today's card finished. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. If you have, let me know in the comments section below and tap the like button so YouTube knows that you want to see more content like this video. On screen right now are a couple more videos that you may not have seen. You can go ahead and tap on the thumbnails to be taken straight through to the video, or tap on my logo to subscribe to this channel if you're new here or if you're lurking and haven't yet subscribed. I hope to see you again in a future video, but that is all from me today. I'll see you soon. Bye for now.